Hello my dear friends and welcome to StudyIQ. I'm Joy and today in this lecture we will discuss about overseas investments and we will also see what India has to do in order to facilitate its overseas investments. So first, what is meant by overseas investments? Overseas investment means any investment that takes place from one country in another foreign territory. So we can simply say that it is investment abroad. Now coming to the current affair. The overseas investments is changing its dynamics, or the nature of overseas investments are changing, and therefore India should be in a place where it can completely utilize its potential of overseas investment, especially in the strategic investments, and therefore India should create an overseas strategic fund. So we will be discussing all these in detail in this lecture. But before we begin, this is our channel StudyIQ and we are providing pen drive courses for various competitive examinations including SSC and bank courses, UPSC optionals, SSC JE courses, teaching examination, railway examination, defense examination, RBI grade B, NABARD grade A, UGC NET, UPSC Civil Services Examination, CLAT exams for various state PSCs and also for various professional courses. You can visit our website www.studyiq.com for more details, or you can call to any of these numbers for more information. We have already discussed that the overseas investment environment globally is changing. So what is a changing environment in the overseas investments? Overseas investments in the developing country context are not only an expression of its financial skills but also an opportunity to explore the overseas markets. Now, India is a developing country and the quantum and the quality of the overseas investments India makes does not only count the financial skills of the country but also the strategic skills. So, in this regard, the country should be able to make strategic investments abroad rather than just making or increasing the quantum of investments abroad. Strategic investment or strategic interest here means that to secure long-term interest. For example, making strategic infrastructure creation abroad is one kind of strategic investments. Now let us understand how are different countries performing at this end, or how are different countries exploring the strategic interest in other countries. Since the 21st century beginning, there has been an increase in the outward direct investment. Outward direct investment means it's a business strategy where the domestic firm expands its operations to a foreign country, or an investment made by government. So it means that outward direct investment from one country to another country, there is an outward flow of direct investments. It can be by business or domestic firms or by domestic government. And outward direct investment can take place in the form of greenfield, acquisition, merger, etc. So whenever a domestic company or a domestic government makes an investment in a foreign country, it is called outward direct investment. And since 21st century beginning, there has been an increase in the outward direct investments, and the leading country is United States. It has around $9.7 trillion outward direct investment. Second position is held by Japan and the third position is held by China. India's total outward direct investments account for $54 billion, and this is almost 11 times lower than that of China. China's outward direct investment accounts for around $767 billion, and India is 11 times lower than that of China in terms of investment, and India's outward direct investment is only 1% of the global investments in these 17 years. And according to the estimates of the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, India's outward direct investment in 2018 was one of the lowest in the recent times. So, if we analyze the global performance of other developing and developed countries or emerging economies and developed countries, what we understand is that India is still lagging behind in terms of outward direct investment. And why it is significant for India is because it is an exhibition of financial skills of the country as well as it is of large strategic importance. Now let us understand what is the emerging trends in the outward direct investment. Till the end of the last decade, financial institutions supported overseas acquisitions. We have seen that outward direct investments can be in the form of mergers, acquisitions, or even investment in the greenfield projects. So till the middle of last decade, the major form of ODI or the outward direct investment was in the form of acquisitions. A domestic company would be acquiring a foreign company. But in the recent times, this has changed. Now, in the recent times, there is a increasing interest in setting up of dedicated funds. And these dedicated funds are used by the sovereign entities in order to make overseas investments, and most of these overseas investments are of strategic nature. And the strategic investments are of long run or long term in nature. Now, if you look at China's initiatives, we will see that over the past years, China's financial institutions have been at the forefront to manage multiple funds. Many sovereign entities were set up, and these sovereign entities were set up to facilitate Chinese business growth overseas. For example, the China Exim Bank, the China Development Bank, China Investment Corporation. So these are some of the examples of sovereign entities set up by China in order to facilitate Chinese business growth overseas. And many of these institutions set up by China are also partnered with the likes of Inter-American Development Bank, Hungarian Exim Bank, Russia Direct Investment Fund, etc. So these institutions were set up in order to capitalize on the financial gap or in the financing gap, and also to capture the potential in this selected geographies. So these are purely of strategic in nature. So these funds or these institutions help in capitalizing the financing gap, and by that China will be able to acquire the potential in these geographies. And during the period 2003 to 2018, the Chinese investments in the selected strategic sectors have been almost twice that of India. Specifically speaking, in fuel resources, in agricultural sector, etc., the Chinese investments are almost 7 times that of India. And also, China is installing alternatives to Western developmental-led finance. For example, the NDB or the BRICS Bank or the New Developmental Bank, the AIIB, Asian Infrastructure and Investment Bank, and also the Silk Road Fund. These are all examples of some of the institutions created by China to serve as an alternative to Western development-led finance like World Bank, IMF, etc. So this shows the growing influence of China. Now, if we look into the other countries, if we look at the global picture, every other major economies, especially the developed economies, have been making such type of strategic funds in order to invest in strategic projects elsewhere. For example, the European Investment Bank, they have set up the African Lion Mining Fund in order to invest in early stage equity in mineral resource companies of Africa. So this is done by European Investment Bank, and it is Europe's initiative in order to make investments or outward direct investments in the equities of mineral resource companies in Africa. In particular, this applies to gold and base minerals and also other minerals. Again, the government of Germany, they have also established the Africa Agriculture and Trade Investment Fund, and the aim is to fund the Africa's agricultural potential. So this is another strategic fund created by the government of Germany. Again, in the United States, in 2018, they formed US International Development Finance Corporation, and this is to pursue its strategic interest through its government's backing. So this is also aimed at making outward direct investment or overseas investment. So they also have a strategic fund. And US International Development Finance Corporation is also considered as an effort towards countering China's influence globally. So through the strategic fund, US would be making strategic investments in order to counter China's investment or influence abroad. So from all these, what we understand is that most of the emerging economies like China and the developed economies like Europe, US, Germany, etc., they have been creating or have already created strategic infrastructure or investment funds in order to make overseas investments or outward direct investments. But India doesn't have such a mechanism until now. Now, what has to be done by India, or what is the way ahead for India? India also exhibits global aspirations in order to make strategic investments elsewhere in the world. But India doesn't have any such dedicated fund in order to realize the targets of the country. So it is very important to create a dedicated fund, like we have discussed before, the Europe's dedicated fund or America's dedicated fund, the German government's fund. Like that, India also should create a dedicated fund to realize its ambitions and targets to make strategic investments abroad. So for that, India should create a sovereign wealth fund, and this sovereign wealth fund should be used by India in order to make investments overseas in crucial areas or in strategic areas. For example, in order to secure its mineral demands, to achieve food requirements, to access critical resources for running sensitive industries, etc. So this sovereign wealth fund could be used by the Indian PSUs, public sector undertakings, and other quasi-sovereign institutions planning cross-border investments for a longer tenure with strategic interest and long-term in nature. You can follow my Facebook page for more updates of my videos, and you can also write to me at joycey.studyiq@gmail.com for any of your queries or clarifications. Thank you.